Bhavya, it's like this that, you know, oil reserves of Saudi Arabia are running out. That's a fact. Oil is a fossil fuel. Oil is a finite resource. And the world's economy, in fact, even the world's wars nowadays revolve around oil. But there is another dimension to this entire thing, and this dimension is the rise of electrical vehicles. And the realization that, as I said, oil is a finite resource. So what happens, Bhavya, is that there is a realization in Saudi Arabia, there is a realization in all the other oil producing countries of the world that we need to look at the future. Every year, the reserves of oil go down. Now, what is Saudi Arabia doing? This whole thing about, Salman Khan dancing in Saudi Arabia, Pakistani media covered it. But there is a story behind it, and I think our viewers deserve to know the story behind it. The story is that they are creating a city in Saudi Arabia, which will have beaches, which will have nightclubs, which will have dance parties, which will be a tourism hub. Now, tourism is amongst the biggest industries in the world, among the top 3 or top 5 in the world, right? And people say that a country can survive on tourism alone. There are so many countries who do just that, they survive on tourism alone. And this is what Saudi Arabia wishes to do. But the Islamic laws in Saudi Arabia are such, also for the fact that there is the Mecca and the Medina towns or cities in Saudi Arabia, which are supposed to be the holiest cities in all of Islam, right? But if you look at the map of Saudi Arabia, you will realize that Mecca is towards the west of Saudi Arabia, and Riyadh is towards the center and east. Actually, it's towards this side. So it's almost like 800 to 900 kilometers. That is the distance between Mecca and Riyadh. So when we say that Salman Khan came, it's not just Shilpa Shetty went there, right? Jacqueline Fernandez went there. Justin Bieber was there in a concert, and there were thousands and thousands of Saudis who were there lined up, and they were cheering and they were screaming, and there was this general, because there was never any opportunity in Saudi Arabia for people to enjoy themselves. Very strict Islamic codes. And then you had this police, a special police for the enforcement of virtue. If women were not wearing the abaya right, or the burqa, there is a difference between the abaya and the burqa, but if they were not wearing it right, they would whip the women. If a woman was found walking alone in the street, they would whip the women. If she was found walking without a mahram, either a brother, a son, or a father, a direct blood relative, if she was found to be with another male, they would whip her. They were not allowed to drive. Now, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, he's changed everything. He's pushing Saudi Arabia into modernity. Now, why is, forget about these concerts which are happening for the first time in Saudi Arabia. Let's forget about that. Why is Pakistan upset here? Pakistan, Bhavya, is upset for one reason. The money that came in from Saudi Arabia, for the mosques, right? For various Islamic charities, and also for the spread of Wahhabism, also for the spread of terrorism, that has stopped. That was oil fueled. There was a euphoria regarding oil. They said that there is less sand in Saudi Arabia and more oil in Saudi Arabia. Now they realize that there is only sand in Saudi Arabia and the oil is finishing. You can't have a country that promotes religious fanaticism, extremism, a certain interpretation of Islam, and is also modern. That cannot happen. So Saudi Arabia is changing itself, and I think hats off to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Hats off to him. He's a visionary, and he rules with an iron fist. Pakistan has a typical problem. The money has stopped coming, and when it comes with such conditions that Pakistanis find it humiliating. Like, for example, we will give you money, but you will return the money in 72 hours. Or we'll just take over your properties outside the country, in your various embassies, etc., high commissions, etc. So this is the deal that they've signed to Saudi Arabia. Pakistan has got no other card to play. It does not have an economy. It does not have an IT industry. It hardly has any culture. Culture is whatever they borrowed from India. Pakistan is 75 years old. What culture will a country of 75 years old have? It has nothing to offer the world. It has almost no tourism. It has almost no industry. This country runs on remittances of overseas Pakistanis. It runs on loans and aid, right? It has nothing to give to the world except to tell the Islamic world, ji, asi bhi Musliman the, tusi bhi Musliman, as they say in Punjabi, that we are also Muslims and you are also Muslims, so please help us. Now, this is not helping anybody, right? But this is why Pakistan is upset. Why are you calling Salman Khan to the holy land of Saudi Arabia? No other Muslim country has objected. Has Indonesia objected? No. Has Malaysia objected? No. UAE? No. No Muslim country has objected. Even Bangladesh, which is our neighboring country, has not objected. It's only Pakistan that has a problem. Only and only Pakistan that has a problem with everybody else in the world. You know, simply because Bangladesh has got trade to talk about. Bangladesh has a thriving IT industry. Bangladesh has a thriving manufacturing industry. It's one of the world leaders in textiles. What is Pakistan a leader of? Suicide bombings. There are no takers for that any longer in the world. So it's going out of fashion, honestly. You know, Pakistan has been criticizing the OIC. As we speak, there is an OIC conference happening in Pakistan, all right? And but that is generally happening for Afghanistan. It's not happening for any other reason. It should have ideally happened in Qatar, but then Saudi Arabia and Qatar don't get along. There is a lot of politics within the Muslim world also. But the fact of the matter, Bhavya, is simple. Pakistan has only two things that it wants from the Muslim world, or even the non-Muslim world for that matter. Talk about Kashmir and give us money. There is no third pillar of Pakistan's foreign policy. Let's be honest. There are only two pillars. Kashmir and give us money. That's all. Now, people are done with giving Pakistan money. And also, as far as Kashmir is concerned, you know why Pakistan says, ji, Kashmir ke hawale se OIC ne kabhi koi bayan nahi diya. They have never made a statement regarding Kashmir. They don't condemn quote-unquote Indian brutalities in Kashmir. That is Pakistan's grouse against the OIC. What I want to say, Bhavya, is something very simple here. First of all, nobody is interested in Kashmir. This entire Kashmir conflict is synthetically manufactured by Pakistan. Synthetically manufactured by Pakistan, right? Number two, also the fact that I think the Pakistanis are masters at hallucination. They're hallucinating. The world will interfere because India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers. And if over Kashmir there is a war, it'll, you know, this whole narrative about how there will be a third world war of India and Pakistan, all that nonsense. The world is not buying it any longer. We are the only Muslim nuclear weapons. The world is not interested at all. As we speak, the Pakistani rupee to the dollar has crossed 182 in open trade and has crossed 178. That is the official figure, PKR to the dollar. It's a matter of a few months. If not arrested, it will cross 200. Then this whole thing about only Muslim nuclear power, the best army, the quote-unquote best ISI, the best intelligence agency, Pakistanis keep on giving themselves these certificates. The world does not care. So they say that the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, is defunct. No, it's not defunct. You see, jiska paisa hota hai, uski chalti hai. Saaf seedhi baat hai. It serves the purpose of people. Now, OIC needs money to run. All right? Any organization needs money to run. This organization, that organization, any company for that matter, any organization needs funds to run. How much money does Pakistan pay to the OIC? It does not. It keeps on taking money. OIC, therefore, like any other organization in the world, will take care of the interests of the people who actually pay money. That is how it works. It's like a company with shareholding. If you're the majority shareholder, you're the boss of the company. For all practical purposes, this is how it is. If the UAE people of the Saudis give money, it will serve their purposes. The day tomorrow Pakistan, let's say tomorrow Pakistan has money and Pakistan says, okay, $15 billion given to OIC. Pakistan will have a say. They don't want to give money because they don't have money, and then they want their say because they have nuclear weapons. They don't realize that this is no argument. This is a fool's argument. But Pakistan has been living a fool's argument for 75 years. Yeah, see, this whole democracy meet in the US, they invited over 100 countries and then Pakistan said we will not go. In an interview to a Pakistani channel, Dr. Moeed Yusuf, who's the NSA of Pakistan, the National Security Advisor, He let the cat out of the bag. Basically, Pakistan was never called. Okay? What happened was that there were two kinds of summits which are happening. And this is according to Dr. Moeed Yusuf. I'm not making this up. Okay? This is the Pakistan National Security Advisor. This country is, it's a treasure house of content for stand-up comics. Yeah. This country is a treasure house of content for any stand-up comic. So there were two kinds of meetings that were to take place. Physical appearance, that was one, in which probably the president / the vice president were involved. And then there was Antony Blinken, who was taking care of the other bit. What Pakistan was asked to do was send a 3-minute video. That's it. So this whole halla in Pakistani media, and even we thought, yeah, Pakistan, it's like really punching above its weight, America ko bol diya. For the second time, absolutely not. We will not come. Now we come to know that they were never even invited. They were just told ki, just give us a 3-minute video, that's all. Imran Khan must have clicked it on his phone and sent it on WhatsApp. Yeah. That's it. That's the limit of Pakistani foreign policy. That's what happened actually. So, yes, this was what Moeed Yusuf said. And if we can play that video of Moeed Yusuf, I think that will be helpful. Our audience can see what Moeed Yusuf said. And he's the National Security Advisor of Pakistan. No, Shahbaz Zaidi Saab is a respected name in Pakistan, and we've also heard of him. What he said was that Pakistan is bankrupt. See, and the reason that he said it's bankrupt is he gave certain accounting terms, and then he said that, your expenditure is this much, and your earnings are this much, and there is a gap. And to fulfill that gap, you take loans. And to repay those loans that you have taken, to fill that gap, you take more loans. And this vicious cycle continues, and there is no plan. So basically what's happening in Pakistan is there is no plan. Pakistan is one of the rare countries that has gone to the IMF 21 times. India also went to the IMF. It's not like India has not taken loans. You see, it's not like India never got aid. But when we got a loan, when we got aid, we did something with it. We did something about it. Bangladesh was in a bad state. For the first 20 years of its creation, Bangladesh was running around for money. It was running around for money. Today, Bangladesh is a strong and vibrant economy because they learned their lessons. India was running around for aid 30, 40 years back. India learned its lessons, and today India is a vibrant economy. There was a time, Bhavya, when all our gold was mortgaged to the IMF and to the West. We were on the verge of economic breakdown. We were staring at bankruptcy. Today, India is a $3 trillion economy heading towards $5 trillion, and it's going to happen soon. The problem with Pakistan is that, the reason why Pakistan is not able to perform is very simple. The Pakistani leadership is not loyal to Pakistan. They take this money and they build flats outside in Dubai and in London. They're more loyal to their own families than they are to their nation. They don't care about Pakistan. So everybody's doing it. Zardari will do it, Nawaz Sharif will do it, and Imran Khan will do it. His ministers are doing it. Imran Khan says, I am personally honest. That doesn't matter. You're the Prime Minister. Everybody in your government has to be honest. And if there is a dishonest person in your government, or your cabinet minister, or any cabinet minister who's dishonest, you have to take responsibility and sort him out. He's not doing that. So, Pakistan needs loans 3 to 4 times every year. Every year, Pakistan needs loans. Every quarter, Pakistan would need billions of dollars to stay afloat. And all it takes for this world is to say, no, we will give you the loan, but after 3 months, Pakistan will collapse. You don't have to say, no, we will not give you money. All you have to say is that we will give you money after 3 months and Pakistan will collapse. They don't have money for 3 months. They just don't have any money at all. And all this so-called, that foreign exchange reserves and all, this is all fake. It's all fake. What foreign exchange reserves? They have nothing, absolutely. They have nothing. This is all padded up. Loans, aid. This is that sort of money which has to be paid back. And of course, the overseas Pakistanis are helping. They're sending remittances, and this is the biggest dollar earner, if I may say so, for Pakistan. Remittances. But the problem with remittances is that because of inflation in Pakistan, which is spiraling out of control, right? if I were an overseas Pakistani and if I were to send my family members in, for example, Lahore or Islamabad or Karachi, $1,000 a month. Things are so badly out of control in Pakistan that now I have to send $2,000. So inflation is not just hitting the Pakistani who's inside Pakistan. It is hitting overseas Pakistani who may be sitting in London or in New York. And Imran Khan is not able to manage that. And this is Imran Khan's base. Overseas Pakistanis are the people who gave money for Shaukat Khanum Hospital. You know, that is Imran Khan's basic support base, major support base. And he's losing that.